So, breaking news today. As you see the CNBC article here, Nike stock dips after Avenatti tweets of scandal. Recovers after celebrity lawyer is arrested. That's right, arrested. Michael Avenatti has been arrested. We have this other article here from CNBC. Stormy Daniels' ex-lawyer, Michael Avenatti, arrested for alleged $20 million extortion scheme against Nike, embezzling clients' money, defrauding bank. And of course, this article out of Fox News says Michael Avenatti accused of trying to extort Nike for up to $25 million, feds say. Now let's go into this article a little bit and then we shall elaborate. And by the way, before we get any further, I should mention Michael Avenatti, of course, as many know him, like Tucker Carlson, as a creepy porn lawyer, was really pushing hard to expose Trump for apparently sleeping with a porn star, Stormy Daniels. And of course, the guy is known to be a bit of a weasel, to say the least. He is very much involved in what some would say many schemes and attempts to make himself famous, put himself at the forefront of the news. And of course, he's been accused of multiple things by women as well. So that's not a sign of a good guy to represent someone who wasn't even allegedly abused, but openly and by her own admittance just slept with Donald Trump. And I don't really care anyway. It's all so stupid. But let's get to this article here. Federal prosecutors in New York Monday accused Michael Avenatti, the former attorney for porn star Stormy Daniels, of operating an old-fashioned shakedown by trying to extort between $15 and $25 million from sports apparel giant Nike. Avenatti, who briefly considered a bid for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, was also charged with wire fraud and bank fraud in a separate case out of California. He was taken into custody and expected to appear in court later Monday in New York. Prosecutors say Avenatti tried to extort Nike by threatening to use his ability to garner publicity to inflict substantial financial and reputational harm on the company if his demands were not met. As alleged, Michael Avenatti approached Nike last week with a list of financial demands in exchange for covering up allegations of misconduct on behalf of the company. FBI Assistant Director in Charge William Sweeney Jr. said in a statement, the lofty price tag included a $1.5 million payoff for Avenatti's client and upwards of tens of millions of dollars for the legal services of his firm. Services Nike never requested. This is nothing more than a straightforward case of extortion, he says. The counts against Avenatti in the New York case are extortion, transmission of interstate communications with intent to extort, conspiracy to transmit interstate communications with intent to extort, and conspiracy to commit extortion. He faces up to 47 years in prison if convicted on all charges. Talk about a downfall, guys. I mean, this is crazy. At a press conference Monday, Manhattan U.S. Attorney Jeffrey S. Berman said that Avenatti used illegal tactics and threats in an effort to obtain millions of dollars for himself. He claimed that if Nike did not meet his demands, the company might die. When lawyers use their law licenses as weapons, as a guise to extort payments for themselves, they are no longer acting as attorneys, Berman said. They are acting as criminals and they will be held responsible for their conduct. According to the New York complaint against him, Avenatti and an unidentified co-conspirator met with attorneys for Nike on March 19th and threatened to release damaging information if the company did not agree to make multi-million-dollar payments to them, as well as an additional $1.5 million payment to a client Avenatti claimed to represent. He allegedly told the attorneys that if his demands were not met, he would go take $10 billion off your client's market cap. I'm not effing around, he says, apparently. The complaint said Avenatti threatened to hold a news conference on the eve of Nike's quarterly earnings call and the start of the NCAA tournament to announce allegations of misconduct by Nike employees. The co-conspirator was identified as an attorney licensed to practice in the state of California and is similarly known for representation of celebrity and public figure clients. Meanwhile, the alleged client was identified as a coach for an amateur athletic union men's basketball program based in California. Earlier Monday, Avenatti tweeted he would be holding a press conference Tuesday to disclose a major high school college basketball scandal perpetrated by Nike that we have uncovered. This criminal conduct reaches the highest levels of Nike and involves some of the biggest names in college basketball, apparently, as he said, I believe on Twitter, as it shows there. Meanwhile, at a second press conference in California, federal authorities announced additional criminal charges against the lawyer for a separate matter. In that case, Avenatti was accused of embezzling a client's money to pay his own expenses and debts, as well as those of his coffee business and law firm. And as it goes on, United States Attorney Nick Hanna said Avenatti was charged with wire fraud and tax fraud stemming from a 2-year IRS tax investigation after he allegedly obtained bank loans on false terms by using phony tax returns to obtain millions of dollars in loans. Avenatti is a corrupt lawyer, as this quote says. Avenatti is a corrupt lawyer who instead fights for his own selfish interests, Hanna said, adding that the allegations against the attorney paint an ugly picture of lawlessness and greed. Avenatti became famous as a lawyer for Stormy Daniels, the porn actress who alleged she had an affair with President Trump in 2006 while his wife Melania was pregnant with the couple's son, Barron. In the last year, Daniels and Avenatti became household names in their fight against Trump, dominating cable news shows for months and taunting the president in interviews, and making lots of money along the way, if I may add. But as this tweet out of from Stormy Daniels said, her statement regarding Michael Avenatti, she says, knowing what I know about Michael Avenatti, I am saddened but not shocked by news reports that he has been criminally charged today. I made the decision more than a month ago to terminate Michael's services after discovering that he had dealt with me extremely dishonestly, and there will be more announcements to come. I ask that the media respect my decision to withhold further public comment regarding Mr. Avenatti at this time. Yeah, and she had expressed some concern as well with the allegations against them previously. And before Avenatti began representing Daniels in February 2018, he was virtually unknown outside of the California legal community, but in a matter of months he had become known as a no-holds-barred lawyer with a media style and a penchant for tweeting similar to Trump's. Avenatti had toyed with the 2020 presidential run as a Democrat. He even visited Iowa at one point, but ultimately ruled that out. He was also involved in another high-profile case representing dozens of parents whose children were separated from them at the U.S. border as a result of the Trump's administration's immigration policies. More recently, he's been representing women who said they were sexually abused by R&B star R. Kelly. And in the California case, Avenatti faces up to 50 years in prison, while in the New York case, the charges carry a potential penalty of 47 years in prison. Hanna said they coordinated with prosecutors in New York to execute both arrest warrants at the same time, but emphasized that they were two separate cases that happened to coincide. And of course, this all happens at the same time as this Russian investigation becomes known more and more as a hoax, as the Mueller investigation has concluded there's no collusion, which Avenatti had been pushing for a long time as well. It's all seemingly coming down on these people. All these so-called these virtue signaling leftists that claim that they're doing what's best for people and women and people of color and all that kind of stuff. Meanwhile, screwing anyone they can to make a few dollars and utilizing a popular trend in culture today to make a bunch of money. And he's just scheming. He's dirty. He's not a good person. And anyone that hadn't seen this previously, it just amazes me. How do you not see through these people? They're like the bad guys out of primetime television. It's ridiculous. And of course, Avenatti has been involved in multiple cases before. I believe he was also like race car driving for a while back, anything to make a few extra dollars. And it's just interesting to see him utilize his position to basically, essentially, steal people's money. Again, I don't think he's going to be practicing anymore. He might get a Michelle Obama in his face, basically, you aren't going to practice anymore, and he might spend much of the rest of his life in prison, though we will see he has big donors, but I'm pretty sure they're going to throw him under the bus at this point, considering all that's come up. And I don't understand how he got involved in another case with, like, R. Kelly and stuff like that. That doesn't even make sense. I mean, the guy has been accused of doing terrible things to women himself, so I don't even... It's 2019, guys. I feel like Justin Trudeau, because it's 2019, because, like, really, it's just... The present year is basically the answer to most questions these days, because it's a crazy world we live in, and I don't know where it's going to end, and I don't think it's going to end anywhere good anytime soon. But nonetheless, it is good to see one person at least get exposed. And look, I'm no fan of Nike. I'm certainly not a fan of Nike. But again, more of these virtue signalers are getting exposed for the scam artists that they are. And all these are allegations at this point, but it looks like he is going to be facing some huge charges. Again, I'm not sure he's going to be facing the entire prison sentence, as some articles note. But nonetheless, he is in big trouble, folks. And I just kind of have to laugh and scoff a little bit at this continued exposure of all these people. It's one of the reasons, like, look, politics is a circus. It's all theater. It's all nonsense. But watching all these people get exposed is, like, the only good side to, you know, asking or begging for one of these organized crime figures to become the next puppet master or puppet, you know, on the world stage, pushing the U.S. empire. I just find it interesting because every single time it always turns out one of these guys is involved in this thing, this guy's involved in this thing, and then they throw mud at each other and complete hypocrisy, and then lawyers get involved and huge media propaganda spectacles and distractions come up out of nowhere. And regarding the Mueller story, it's something I've just kind of looked the other way on for a while because it's so ridiculous and so absurd and so obviously a distraction story, and also meant to coax fears and fear-mongering regarding Russia and hoping to push towards war with Russia, which is I don't think anyone really wants, but of course the media will do whatever they can to push more WMD type stories. But again, all this is seemingly getting exposed at the exact same time. And Michael Avenatti, it looks to me, cross your fingers, guys, that his career is over. Good riddance. Goodbye, sir. Hope to never hear from you again, except for the odd story out of prison. Michael Avenatti, 5 years later in a prison cell or something like that. That'll be kind of entertaining. But nonetheless, hopefully his career is just gone, done, over. It looks like it, and we don't have to hear anymore from this annoying human being who uses other people's suffering or big distraction stories to make a bunch of quick money, and then allegedly tries to extort companies like Nike. Which, imagine the superiority complex that this guy has, that he thinks that he has the power to just be like, oh, I have some media coverage, so I'm going to come out against Nike and try and extort them. Yeah, that's going to work out very well. It's not like Nike isn't way more powerful and has way more ad campaigns behind it than you. Not justifying Nike's over-the-top power, but nonetheless, come on. Anyway, thanks for joining us again, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon. We can't do it without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so heavily demonetized and censored by YouTube as these guys come in and flag all of our content as hate speech. The shadow banning is getting really bad, guys. Also, check our Bitcoin address right here on the screen or in the description below. We really appreciate it. And of course, check us out at the Red Pill Expo 2019. Of course, the great G. Edward Griffin and so many other incredible speakers will be there. Our link for that is below as well. And we cannot forget Mike Maloney's goldsilver.com, which you can also find in the description. One of the greatest market and monetary historians out there. We really encourage everyone to check that out. But until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.